So we are live. Hope you guys are well. We are live. We're live. Hope you guys are doing well. This is the show. I call it CRE, the CRE SharkEye show, CRE Commercial Real Estate SharkEye show, um, and it's on live on LinkedIn, on YouTube, and on my Facebook page. Also, don't forget to like that one. And I hope you guys are doing well this fine Monday morning. I just want to make sure, always make sure that actually it's going okay and and the quality is okay. So please give a comment if something is up, and I appreciate that. Right before I basically start, I just want to make sure. Um, so I hope again everything is fine with you guys this beautiful Monday morning. And yes, it seems like it's going fine. And I'm with you. Anyways, this is also going to be the podcast, the CRE SharkEye podcast. And hopefully you guys are going to enjoy this. So what I want to talk about today, usually on Monday, I dive deep a little bit into what's going on in the market, in the commercial real estate market, far and wide. And it's important for us and for everybody to understand what's going on, because a lot is going on. A lot is going on. A lot of interesting things are going on. And the one thing I would like to discuss today, and this is, I would like to hear your comments. And if you have great comments, I'd like to hear from you, and I would incorporate it into this show. So first of all, what I want to talk about today is the migration, the U.S. crazy migration. What's happening is that we talked about it many times, but what's going on is that the big cities are being ditched. People are living in the big cities, and we've seen it due to the pandemic and the civil unrest and whatever it was. People left the big cities and they're going to suburbia. That's what's happening. And it's driving a lot of things, and we're going to discuss these things. So first of all, people left the big cities. People left the big cities. Why? Because the big cities, if it's the civil unrest or the pandemic, most of the pandemic, people are not comfortable of being in an elevator. And I would put it in two categories. Okay, actually not in two. It could be a lot more categories. So I'm going to just talk about it, and let's see how many categories there are, because there are a lot of those. So the first categories are the people who are wealthy. Okay, there's a lot of wealth in the major cities. People who live in large apartments, New York City, in California, wherever it is, in Los Angeles, Chicago, downtown Chicago, all these places. So first of all, let's talk about, and the place that I'm most familiar with, of course, is New York, and I will focus on that. New York City has a lot of people with extended wealth, and they have large apartments, and they live in beautiful communities over there, and they like to enjoy their lives over there. That is true until the pandemic hit. Why? Because people could not leave their apartment. They needed some space, and all of a sudden the apartment, even though some of them has large apartments, they need some living space that can justify the entire family. For a long period of time, it's very, very tough, especially during the summer, during the spring, summer, where people wanted to just breathe and get out. It's not the winter now. Now it's the winter, but it wasn't the winter then. So what do they do? So for the people who are more to the wealth, meaning they're more wealthy and they had the means, what they did was going to the shores of New Jersey, or going to Long Island, or going to the Hamptons, or wherever they went, because they had the ability, and they had they had that fortune, the good fortune to go and to spend times in those houses that they have in all those places. So when you're in that situation, you're not necessarily ditching and living the city. You're not going out of the center of the universe, what we call, okay, which is New York City. But even in the other cities, you're not leaving the city that fast. You can still pay the mortgage, rent, whatever it is, because you have the ability to do that, and you go and live in that house of yours, in that place away, your home away from home, which is your second home or third home or whatever it is, because you'll be back eventually. You don't want to give up on that good life that you have there, but you still want your space. You still want your space, and that's what they moved. So that's one category. That's one type of people. And those guys even if they moved for a while, even if they went to the Hamptons to be there for a longer time than usual, and they went to the shores in New Jersey to live there for a longer period of time, eventually they had the plan to go back. And that is important. Why? Because that's very different from those other guys. Those people who are younger professionals or people who work in the city and have, how do you say, great jobs and everything, but their apartments are not spectacular as those other guys, and they don't have second homes. And for them, it was either stay there throughout the pandemic, and some of them did stay there throughout the pandemic until everything will move because that's their home, and some of them did. But many of them decided, I will not stay in those places. I want to be safe. I don't want to be in a building with an elevator. And many of them just ditched and got out of there. And that caused, everybody saw those U-Haul trucks, and everybody saw those vacancies, and we see all these videos coming in of vacancies, vacant apartments, etc. That is another type, and those guys are not coming back, not anytime soon, and probably not ever. Okay, those types are not coming back. Why? Because when a family moves out of an area, they're not planning to come back after 2 or 3 years, because we all know that this will end, and the major cities, the center of those cities, all those centers, they're going to revive. Everything's going to go back to normal, and all those guys are moving out. Now, there's another type of tenant or crowd, I would call it. Okay, and that type of crowd are the young people, millennials, students, and all those. So a student, let's think about this for a second. A student who would move in during the times that were normal, prior to the pandemic, prior to everything, move to be close to NYU, move to be in the city, move to work in the city, wherever it was. There was nothing like the city. The city was the place to be. Why? Because all the beautiful restaurants, and they can just go out and everything is hopping and popping, and with just going down and take a subway or whatever it is, an Uber, in 5 minutes you're just in wherever you want to be, it's very quickly. So you don't have to go and have those long rides and etc. So the purpose of the apartment was, you go to sleep, you get up in the morning, you get dressed, you get out of there, you go to your office or wherever you work, or you go to your school, wherever you are. Then you come back, you change, you do whatever you need to do. You maybe rest a little bit. You go back to wherever you need to go, and then you go out, and then you come back only to sleep. So that apartment served tremendous, meaning was beautiful thing, because people could go and be in the center of everything and use that little apartment for that purpose, to go quickly to school, to go be with their friends, to go to that restaurant, to go to that business, to go to that meeting, whatever it was awesome for young people. But then everything changed because of the pandemic. Why? Because if you look at the pandemic and the way it was, this small apartment that served beautifully beforehand, right now it's a jail. It's too much, because then you need to put a desk in. There's no room for a desk. You need a workstation. People are used to those workstations. You don't have room for that. This is not the way to live, the way people see it. It's not a great way, to experience life. And you're cooped up. Only thing you can go is to the grocery or to the pharmacy, and that's it. You can't go and do anything else. So basically, what we're talking about here, we're talking about a very, very uncomfortable situation. Okay? Very uncomfortable situation. And therefore, those guys, just like they came that quick into the city and got excited about the city, that's how fast they left. And most of them have parents in suburbia. They have houses, Long Island, or wherever it is. If it's LA in the Valley, or in Beverly Hills or wherever it is, and they just left and went to be with their parents. And those who were a little bit older just rented a new place, just rented a new house, or bought a new house, or just moved completely out of the area. What happened? The cities, those major cities, we are experiencing vacancies that are unprecedented. Unprecedented. And this thing is going to take a while to go back. A lot of people think that New York City, especially New York City, is not coming back that fast. And some of them say not in the next 5 years. I even saw an article saying that people who predict and are looking at stats when it comes to tourism, they're not seeing the tourism coming back until 2025. Do you understand what it means? 2025 is the year where everything will bounce back in terms of tourism. That's a major hit on all those major cities. And we have to take that into consideration. Now, let's talk about the suburbia for a second. What is happening to suburbia? Now, suburbia, the rural areas, are booming in a way that we couldn't see it coming, okay? And it happened in a boom, okay? And the way to look at it, it's very, very, very interesting. Because first of all, the first thing that is happening, just like in the cities, we have vacancies and prices are dropping, et cetera, we see the opposite going in suburbia. Houses are, meaning the prices of homes are skyrocketing. It went up from, meaning comparing to a year ago, went up 12%, the value of homes. It's unbelievable. So if a person was in a house, and I heard, I think I heard it from Jason Hartman. I can't remember who I heard it from, but I think I heard it from him. But if a person is in a house, and that's so true, and he is not, don't consider cash flow, don't consider appreciation in certain, meaning tax benefits or whatever it is. Don't consider all that stuff. Just the appreciation of the property, just the market that goes up, okay? Just the market that went up 12% in a year. So it means that on your money, net on your money, if you're a 10% mortgage, meaning equity in, it's like 120%. It's like crazy. In annual, in annual increase, this is crazy. This is insane. This is really crazy. And therefore, in certain cases, of course, but that is not normal. That is not normal. This is not, by the way, this is not a way that we predict or we project an investment. God forbid, meaning we don't do that. Meaning it's pure luck or pure, just like we got hit with all kind of retail properties and office properties and definitely hospitality properties. We spoke about this, and we got hit with those without knowing that they're going to get hit because we are not prophets. Just like that, we never would have known that those properties in the suburbia area, they would just boom in value. We didn't know that. How could we know that? How could we predict that? There was nobody has a crystal ball. Okay, so that's not a good game plan for investors, but they did make the money. So sometimes luck happens, and that's what it is. Life happens and luck happens. And so what I want to say is the following. So we have first of all, we have the increase in value. And then the second thing we have, people want to live at home and they got used to work from home. Okay. We're making shows from home. Okay. We used to not stay at home. Everybody's life changed. People's life changed all over the world. And the amount of people that are going to the big cities are so much less. And people are staying in suburbia. People have a big home, and it's already a thing to have a home office, and to have a setup at home, and to have the ability to work from home. And it became, people get used to it. People get used to things. We are very elastic, how do we call it, in the way that we get used to new lives or new things that happen to us, and we adapt. That's whoever adopted better or faster did it. And this is an amazing thing. The human nature is just incredible. And another thing that we have to take into consideration is the ability of, again, offices that are in suburban areas, because of all those companies that moved out, and a lot of people who did want to have at least some time at the office, maybe most of the time in the office, but not all of the time in the office, going to the inside, the major cities, the center of the city, it just didn't make sense anymore. And therefore they said, okay, I'll rent a space next to the 5 minutes drive from my house. And they found ways to do it. And they found places and spaces. And those people who their offices were primarily for dentists or for medical offices or the similar, all of a sudden you have all this interest coming in of people who are professionals or people who have businesses, and they used to drive in, and now they just want a space there because they want to get out of the house just a little bit and to have that experience over there too. So the prices of those spaces are going up. So again, suburbia is booming. The question is, for how long? Because on the other hand, we have something else that is happening. Something else is happening, underwater, the currents. You have to pay attention to the currents. What are the currents? The currents are a loss of jobs, loss of jobs of many people, and the ability and their inability to pay their mortgage, which is the forbearance, is due any moment. Okay, the forbearance is due any moment. Basically, they're going to have to start paying mortgage, and that is going to be difficult for a lot of people, and therefore, if a solution or a stimulus, and it depends, I don't know what will happen with everything that's going on with the elections and with post-elections, whatever, with new government, whatever it is, whatever the decision will be, it's a big question. It's a big question. How many more months, how much more time can people buy? How much more time can professionals buy? How much more time can all those employees who were let go, who are still working on the new job, who are still working from home, who are still trying the new thing, I don't know, an online business, whatever, all these new things are emerging. How long people have, how much time can people buy in order to get in? And that is a huge question that has to be answered, because the question will be, when will this stimulus kick in? And that's a really big question. That's a real big question. Another thing is, what will happen? What will happen when, first of all, let's take it back a little bit. If people can't pay the mortgage within the next 3, 4, 5 months, and we're getting into 2021, we'll have a lot of homes that are going to go out to the market as short sales, foreclosures, whatever it is. What will that do, A, to the housing market? 2, what will that do to the multifamily market? Because all those people will have to run into those complexes, into those multifamily, right? Properties. What are they going to do? They have to go and live somewhere. So what will that do to class B and C? That is the big question. Okay. Another thing is, and that's what I was saying, what will happen when the market there will be a correction, regardless of what's happening right now. Within a year or two, there will be a correction. People will go back to the city. Okay. The city will turn back. Okay. 2025, that's a long time from now. But eventually it will happen. People will go back to the city. People like to be in this big office, in this big fancy building, and people like to be a part of something big. That's human nature. You cannot take it away from us. We are like that. That's the way we are. So big question, huge question. When that happens, whenever that happens, year 2, 3, it will happen. What will happen to those homes that just boomed and everybody moved into suburbia? What will happen to those places that people had to buy or bought? That's one thing, but the rentals that were there, the housing rental markets with all those young people who moved into and will want to go back to the city because the pandemic. Can you imagine a new world where the pandemic is way behind us and there's a vaccine, and we don't even remember. And it seems like like a dream from the past. Can you imagine that? That will be the new world. It won't happen tomorrow, but that will be the new world. If you can understand that things change, and sometimes just like you when you're in the bottom in the pit, and then you're the king of the world. How do you say king of the world? There's only one. But I'm saying you're king, and then you're in the bottom of the pit, just like pandemic right now. We're at home. We're quarantined. People lost their jobs. People lost a lot of things. And all of a sudden, it will go away. It won't happen in one day. But once it goes away, finally, it will be behind us. People look back and it'll be like a far dream that we'll tell our kids. And I'm not talking about 30 years from now. I'm talking about 2 years from now. I'm talking about something that is pretty close. It's coming. The end is near. The end of this pandemic is near. It's not in 2 months. There's going to be probably another lockdown. I don't know what will happen. Let's see what's happening. But once it's happening, can you imagine a new world when this is behind us? When that happens, everybody will rush back into the city. It will be like nothing happened. Okay? Again, it could happen in 3 years or 4. But once that happens and it starts, it will be like in the beginning, very tiny waves, larger waves, and then it's going to be like a tsunami. People will move back into the cities, major cities. What will happen to suburbia? That's a big question. With that, I'll leave you. And I wish you guys a beautiful week, successful, prosperity, everything you guys wish for yourselves. And take care of yourselves. I'll see you guys on Thursday. Take care.